planning a road trip to Newfoundland, man, it was complicated and it's really far to get here. It involved a 16-hour ferry. What do you eat on a 16-hour ferry?
Do you take a pod? Do you just take a chair? Do you take a luxury cabin that they offer?
It sounds like a 16-hour ferry would be very expensive.
It does. You have the option of flying, but flights always get canceled here. It gets windy, it gets foggy, it's expensive.
And let's be honest, for a road trip, you want to be able to carry all of your stuff, and even the stuff that you didn't think you were going to want to bring.
We did the 16-hour ferry, and in this video, we're going to show you the pros and cons of what do you do? What food do you bring? Where do you eat?
And then we'll discover how much did it cost us. Welcome to Beyond 45. So let's start at the very beginning. Why did we even have to take a ferry to get to Newfoundland? Why didn't we fly? And why did we have to take a 16-hour ferry when there is a 7-hour ferry option? In fact, I think the 7-hour ferry option even has a 5-hour day option that's even faster. So why the ferry? When we first started planning this trip, it quickly became epic road trip planning that went from let's just explore the Avalon Peninsula to let's travel all around Newfoundland, visit St. Pierre-Miquelon, and then travel down Labrador into Quebec to return back to Montreal. To do this, we really needed our car.
Yes.
So you can rent a car if you fly to Newfoundland. However, renting a car is extremely expensive, and if you do come during a high tourist season, it's very difficult to get a car. It's very difficult to, the supply is low. You're on an island, so you're going to be very limited. We planned this trip back in February, so we knew at that point we're going to be bringing our car. There was two options. Either we could sail to Port Basques. There's daytime crossings, there's nighttime crossings. And then there's the ferry that we took, the 16-hour ferry ride to Argentia. This ferry only runs seasonally in the summer period when the water is calmer. I don't think I'd want to travel during choppy water season.
And you have to book it far, far in advance because it does get booked up and it does get sold out.
So that part, we booked it in February. And even at that point, my mother, we're very thankful, made the booking so early. At the time that she booked it, the only sleeping type areas available were the pods. But there are other options. So if you have pets, there are some pet-friendly cabins, and you'll be able to bring your pet on board. Otherwise, you're going to have to leave your pet in your car, and you can't access your car during the ferry movement. So as soon as the ferry leaves dock, that's it. That entire area is locked down. So there's a pet-friendly cabin. There's a deluxe cabin, which we did have a chance to get upgraded to, and it was amazing. So we're going to cover that next. And then there are these pod cabins that are really just bunk beds, and then you're sharing a general bathroom area with fellow passengers. If you don't book a cabin, then you're going to be in a general seated area. These seats do recline, and there's lots of different options where you could be at the front of the boat and then have a nice view through the big windows.
And we saw some pretty unique, I think there's professional farriers, I guess is the right
ferry
term.
travelers.
Yeah, they brought their own cots. So basically they sat on the seats, and for their kids, it's like a little bed, like a little camping bed with their blankets, with their pillows. So people have experience in this.
Yeah, people full on brought their sleeping bags and their pillows, which is great. It's great that you can kind of make this little nest for your family. So people would, I don't want to say rush in. There was no at least not what we saw. And maybe that's just because we knew we had our cabin. So we were going a bit slower, but it wasn't I can't think of what, when people rush on board and are pushing people out of the way to get the best seats.
Yeah, it was civilized.
Yeah, it was very civilized. So people came in, they set themselves up, kind of blocked their areas that they wanted to sit in. And then after that, they would start moving around the ship, exploring, getting their drinks and some food. So.
Yeah, if we look at the logistics of getting on the boat, so you have to get there 2 hours in advance, because what they do is they check you in. You do a line as if you're going through a toll, and they remeasure your car. So make sure you measure your car properly, because they could refuse you access because obviously there's limited space on the actual boat.
Yeah.
So that process was pretty simple.
Yes, and I would say the measurement and knowing the size, especially if you're going with a camper. That's going to be really critical because some people have different size campers and you really don't want to plan your whole trip only then to find out when you get to the ferry terminal that you're not going to be able to get on board.
Right.
We checked in, I think we got there about like the 3-hour mark or like 2.5 hours. When we checked in, she did put us aside separately for electric vehicles. Yeah,
we have a hybrid vehicle. So basically they ask you what type of vehicle you have and they give you a designated lane that you get into. And you go into that lane and you just queue up until they call you. And it was very, very organized. You have to wait a bit, but it was a very, very organized place. There is what do you call it? A welcome kiosk, a ferry terminal.
Yeah, a ferry terminal. There's a like kind of lounge ferry terminal where you can use the bathroom, and I believe there's a cafe. Unfortunately, when we arrived, it was pouring rain.
So we did not experience the ferry terminal.
We had no desire to leave the car. So we looked at it from a distance, but we did notice that most people were getting out of their cars, walking around, talking to fellow passengers. Like, I think on a nice day, it'd be nice to kind of walk around there and stretch your legs before you get on the ferry.
Yeah.
So I think we finally ended up boarding somewhere around just short of 4 o'clock. Or no, actually it wasn't. It was probably 4:30.
Yeah, closer to 4:30. The sailing was at 5. Once you actually get on the boat, you drive onto your designated area. That'll help you in terms of where you have to park. You stay in your car until the employees will call you to move up to the main cabin areas or the main ferry areas. Yeah. Again, maybe a 10 to 15 minute process once we actually park the car.
Yeah, and I mean, really safety focused. And when we did the check-in process, like getting into the terminal, she did give us a tip of like which elevator was going to be best for us. And once we got there, they told us what floor we were going to be on. So we kind of had an idea. The ship's a fairly big size. It was 10 floors in total. We were parked on floor number 5. And we stayed on floor number 8. We did. My mom was staying on floor number 9. And then the 10th floor is the deck where you can walk around the ship and have a little outdoor time, which with some nice views.
So the cabin. Do you want to talk about the cabin?
So the cabin. What an experience. We would highly recommend that you book far in advance to secure the deluxe cabin. And again, if you have a pet, make sure you book far enough in advance so you can bring your friend on board with you. I think that would be really important, particularly for a 16-hour ride. You want to have your best friend with you. So once we got in the cabin, it just blew our mind. We had a huge window, like really significant size, as you can see, looking out over the water so we could enjoy this view a good chunk of the sailing, right? Because it was overnight, but we got to enjoy it when we first got on board. And then as the sun rose in the morning, we could sit and have our coffee. And
we did not see any whales or any wildlife, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I kept looking. I was like trying to will them to come out of the water and say hello to us, both dolphins and whales, but no luck. Our cabin also had a little closet area to put our coats. It had a bathroom with a shower. With
very good water pressure and very good heat as well. So we both took showers, did not run out of hot water or water, period. And it was nice.
It was really nice. They do supply you with 2 towels and like kind of face cloth sized towels that you can use. So a proper shower towel and then a face cloth sized towel. And then there's some hand soap on the walls. So for a shower and stuff like that, bring your shampoo, bring your soap. You're gonna wanna have your own stuff because they don't supply that. We forgot to take a video of this, but next to the bed, there was a little pull-out section that's a fridge. So we were able to put the food that we brought on board with us, some of our extra drinks and stuff on the side, and then it didn't put as much strain on our ice packs that we had in our cooler. And then there was also a section under the TV that opened up and it had a coffee kind of set up. So you had your coffee and tea and a couple cups, a couple mugs so we could have coffee in the morning.
Yeah, and the water was drinkable, right? The tap water that they had on the boat, if you guys want that, or if not, bring in your own bottles of water.
Yeah. So they said the water is drinkable, but it's going to have a little bit of a taste of the piping from the vessel, so...
We used it for our coffee. We didn't use it for tap water, for drinking water, but we used our bottled water to drink. Speaking of food, so we did decide to bring our own food. We brought like a little cooler, fresh food, and we did have some processed food, I guess.
Yeah, like chips and stuff like that, things that we could have as our snacks. Protein coffee.
What did you think of the cafeteria? You did the walk around.
So there are a number of food options when you're on board. There is a cafe that's going to have coffee and like little sweets and things like that. There's also a gift shop that's next to that. And there's the bar section. The bar section after 9:30 will serve like things like chicken wings and nachos, really like bar fare. But I mean, it's pretty late, like 9:30. I guess when you're on a boat, it's a little bit like when you're flying, like the time, you lose sense of time. And then there's also a dining area. The dining area looked really nice. I did read ahead of time that there's a bit of mixed reviews on the food, that some people said it was good. Others were like, it's one of the worst meals I've ever had. So we elected to bring our own food. Personally, as I walked up to the dining area, it smelled a little bit like hospital cafeteria smell. So I don't know if that was really enticing for me. I was very happy that we packed our own sandwiches.
So basically it's doable if you like hospital style food. We didn't taste it, so we cannot say for sure if it tastes good or bad. It's just the vibe that we have. And Maria's usually pretty good at, sussing things out. So we were very happy that we brought our own food.
When he says sussing things out, that's a very polite way of saying I'm very particular about what I'll eat and what I won't eat, and where I will eat and where I won't eat. We did have some drinks on board when we arrived. I would say they're a little on the more expensive side, but again,
But stuff in Newfoundland in general is more expensive. So yes. I think that was consistent. It's already more expensive on the ferry, but once you get here, everything is more expensive as well, because they have to bring stuff in on the boat all the time. Yeah. Activity on the boat. The one thing that we enjoyed doing is they have, you could go outside on the deck, and they have multiple floors you go on as well. If you go to the top deck, which I think it was the 10th floor, it's not that long to get up. You have like a big open area where you could loop around. It's like I don't want to say a little track, but basically
a lot of people steps in.
Exactly, a lot of people were doing steps. So it was, when it was not raining, we were doing that as well, just to break up the trip and move our legs a little bit. Yeah,
it was really, and the views from up there were nice. We went up for sunrise. We went up at sunset, sunrise. Again, looking for whales that did not appear.
And to do stupidities, we did our standard Titanic pose.
I was a little concerned before we got on the vessel of what are we going to do to kill 16 hours. One thing we were surprised with is that there was actually Wi-Fi. And I had looked that up ahead of time, and it said that the vessel to Argentia didn't have Wi-Fi. So that was such a nice surprise for us. I mean, granted, maybe we could have used a little social media break, but...
It was a bit like the Wi-Fi, though, that you get on a plane, which means like certain apps will work and certain websites will work, others will not. So I think YouTube did not work.
Right.
WhatsApp was working, you could send text messages, so it's...
Instagram was working. I mean, it was nice to be able to chat with our friends and share pictures of what we were doing and what the vessel looked like, brag about our deluxe cabin. Like, it was nice.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing I should add about the deluxe cabin is the bed was very, very comfortable.
It was.
I had a great sleep.
Yeah, and everything was like set up. It was a small space, but everything was like smartly set up.
Yeah, it was super smart. Read.
Yeah, the boarding process was very similar to the onboarding process. They'll call your floor. The one thing that I would probably recommend, the elevators get busy.
So busy.
So we walked up. We were in a condition that we could walk up.
Yeah.
If not, you can be waiting maybe, I would say 10 to 15 minutes to be able to take an elevator.
Maybe even more. I think like to get on the boat, it was probably that, because as we were getting on, one of the floors below us was also like getting on the boat. So there was just like the lineup was getting bigger and bigger. And by the time we showed up at the elevator to deboard, it was like the whole elevator area and then backed up into the hallways. So we're like, nah, we're not doing that. We walked down, we took the stairs, and there was like no one in the stairs.
Yeah, so there's multiple staircases. You have the staircase next to the elevator, but there's I think 3 or 4 points that you could access. So if ever it's busy, just walk over to another staircase and you're able to walk down. So that part was fairly simple. And once you get off, there's not much to do in around the ferry area. So you have to drive a little bit before you're able to get civilization.
Yeah. There was a gas station not too far from the terminal. But beyond that, like really don't be expecting to get off the ferry and right away be able to stop at a coffee shop and get snacks.
You'll be able to stop to get nice views, but
Yes.
not to buy food.
Yeah, it was beautiful. But we were one of the last cars to get off, which actually wasn't that bad. I mean, it stopped raining, the sun started coming out. We just stood outside our car, got some fresh air before we took it was roughly like a hour and a half drive.
Yeah. So we were staying in an Airbnb. So one of our first stops that we went off once we got on the ferry was at Costco. So we loaded up on food. The Costco is a very big Costco. It's the only one they have on the island. Right?
It was great. And it was really funny because we've talked about it in other videos where we're questioning what day of the week it was. We kept wondering why there were so many people here on a weekday, only to realize that it was a Saturday.
Yeah, being early retirees, we always assume every day is a Saturday. But we also, when it comes to talking about us, but when it comes to talking about other people, we always expect them to be working, which is
we always assume they're working.
We just noticed that on this trip.
That was our trip in a nutshell. I think we've covered most of that. Oh, one area. Maybe we want to cut this towards the beginning of the night. Another area we can give you some information on is we'll show you a bit. Like this is what the children's play area looks like. We don't have kids, but since we do have friends that have kids, we thought it'd be interesting to take a little bit of video for them so that they could see in future videos, if they brought their kids on board, what type of area that they could have. So this was filmed before the kids were out running around. They were really at the stage. This is when we were boarding. So
before chaos.
Yeah, before the chaos ensued. The parents are really setting up, like we said earlier, their cabins and their general seating area. Once we started sailing, the boat did a scavenger hunt.
Right.
And that got the kids really engaged, especially like kids around like I'd say 7 to 11. We saw a lot of them running around the ship with their papers trying to find the stuff. And in the morning before we docked, they announced the winner of the scavenger hunt. So that was pretty exciting. I mean,
yeah, when they went crazy, we're like, you know what, we're out of here. We went to our luxury cabin, we just shut the door and watched the movie.
Exactly. Relaxation space for us. I mean, once you get in your cabin, it's really your space. It was very quiet. It was great.
Speaking of which, in terms of motion sickness in the boat, we got motion sickness pills. Maria got these motion elastics as well that you wore. I'm assuming they worked.
Yeah, I mean, I looked a little bit like a kind of Power Ranger.
But... So there was a little bit of a constant vibration in the boat, and you kind of like felt it in your throat. But I did not get any motion sickness, and I believe you didn't as well.
No, you know, it was interesting. It felt a little bit like being on an airplane. That same type of motion, minus we didn't have turbulence.
There was something slightly more, but not.
Well, maybe when you're sitting, it felt very calm. When you would get up to stand, that's when I felt it the most. Like when you'd go to the bathroom or just walking down the hallways, you could feel the vessel moving a bit more. But the waters were really calm. There weren't big waves. I think there are times when, like I've seen videos where water's like coming up on board. So that's not for me.
So big question, would you do the ferry again?
I would definitely do the ferry again. And as Henny said, like I was concerned about motion sickness, and it kind of made me realize, like, I guess depending on the season, it's a risk, but it was very fun and it was entertaining for us. But that being said, we had Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi packages when you do cruises are very expensive.
Yes.
So I don't know if it's comparable experience-wise.
I would have, to be honest with you, I would have been okay not having Wi-Fi and really completely disconnect, because I'm a technology addict, so I'm okay with not having Wi-Fi. I'm working on that. So I'm curious to experience that. I think if we did a cruise, I would opt to not getting the Wi-Fi.
Yeah. So how much did it cost us? The cost of the ferry is under our federal government's control. And in 2025, our Prime Minister made the decision to decrease the ferry costs permanently 50%. This was to help encourage tourism to Newfoundland, and I think it helped. I mean, If I look at the cost of what it cost us to cross the ferry versus what it would have been for 3 of us to fly, it was extremely economical. Also, given the fact that we're not having to rent a car, we're able to bring our own car over. So like if you put all of this together and the experience that we had with the luxury cabin, like I would highly, highly recommend booking the ferry as an option.
Yeah, so let's say if we look at the cost, the actual deluxe cabin itself was $281. There was a vehicle charge for a vehicle under 18 feet of $107, fuel surcharge of $14, security fee of $525, and the passenger fee for 3 passengers was $150. In this case, we added an additional pod for Maria's mother, which was $120. But in this, you could probably skip the pod, get a seat, and alternate who goes into the luxury cabin or not. That's really up to you guys to decide. So the total cost for the deluxe cabin plus the passenger pod was $698.46, and that's for 3 passengers.
Yeah, so like if you really think about it, where would you even be able to fly anywhere in Canada for 1 person for $700?
Toronto?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe for 1 person. So 3 of us on this ferry ride, like I think this is a really good price for what we experienced. I would do it again. I really enjoyed the experience. Now we're here in beautiful Newfoundland. We'll keep capturing all of our activities and share as we go.
And if you have any questions, any comments, please feel free to leave it in the comments section and ask us, and we'll answer all your requests.
We'll see you on our next video on Beyond 45.